channel. That's right, it's the 1-year review of the Masterbuilt Gravity Series 800. Okay guys, 2 quick disclaimers before we start out. I did buy this grill with my own money. It was not given to me for any kind of a review purpose. And the second thing is important to call out is I have done my own modifications to this grill. It's not dead stock, but I have done quite a few things, including changing out the control board. So that's something to keep in mind. However, I will say, had I kept everything stock, I still would be probably just as happy with this grill. I'm just more happy now. And I'll talk about those, but the first things first is we're gonna talk about overall quality. So let's go ahead and jump into that right now. All right, guys, as you can see, over the course of a year, I have used this cover, and this cover has actually not faded like a lot of folks have seen. It sits here in broad daylight, so totally been a worthwhile investment. I don't have any rust happening. I do keep hickory splits down below, and we'll talk about that later. I have no rust, I have no issues. I do vacuum out the ash bin every once in a while. I do have a little bit of creosote buildup up here, but that is completely normal, nothing to be worried about. In fact, I'm ready to start transitioning this thing into cooking. But no rust, no issues whatsoever. I'm really impressed with overall quality there. I know a lot of people give this thing a lot of hate online, but I mean, look at this thing. It's pretty fresh. So no issues to speak of when it comes to overall quality there. Now, when it comes to the control board, I did change it out, yes, but that was because I wanted to use a fireboard, and we can talk about that later. But the main control board continued to work for the better part of 5 months until I swapped it out. So that wasn't an issue. I have no issues with the tray. I did add a little grill light here. I have no issues with the inside of the grill. I do try to keep it clean, or if I do not, I usually try to do a little bit of a burn off, but not get too crazy. And again, you can see inside of here, it's well used. The baffle in there definitely starts to kind of rust a little bit, but it doesn't actually seem like it's that bad. So really impressed with that. This thing has been a trooper and has done plenty of cooks over the year. I need to pull out my slides, as I do have hot charcoal going on right now. So I do like that those stack, by the way. But anyway, overall quality, really impressed. It does have some hot spot, like where it burns over here. You can clean this off. I've cleaned it several times before. But nothing that's like, man, I wish they had done this better. This thing sits here. It goes to events with me sometimes, and it's been a trooper. So, you know, obviously there are going to be the guys that complain about your switches, but I've bypassed literally everything in this grill. It runs 100% off the fireboard now, and I don't use switches. So I guess in that case, yes, if you do have the switches activated on yours, you will need to keep them clean, or you will need to figure out a way to bypass them. Again, a switch here, a switch here, and a switch here. Check out my short on bypassing the switches. I also have a full video on that if you're interested. All right, up next, let's go ahead and talk about the modifications that I've done. All right, guys, first things first, I have done some mods on this grill, and as I'm getting my grill fired up here, I am going to talk about why. So I have obviously installed a fireboard, and I'm firing this thing up to do some steaks, so we'll just kind of kick it up here to 350. But I have done this fireboard because I wanted a little bit better app connection. Many of you know the Masterbuilt app tends to have trouble. They have gotten better with it, but I wanted better app connection, and this thing is fantastic about that. I wanted high temp probes. So this is the actual Fireboard Pro drive. And I also wanted multiple temperature port options in the back. So this thing has, I think, up to 2 additional ones, plus the main one. And I wanted just to kind of get rid of everything, and I wanted to be able to track my cooks and do more technical review of the control system on here. So ultimately, do you need it? No, not at all. I think that's one of the best mods I've done, but I will say it comes with its cons. For example, it takes a little longer to heat up. You have to run 5 or 12 volt USB power to it. You can't just plug that into the wall. You have to run USB power to it for the fan to run at 100%. You know, the algorithm on the fireboard system is slower to me to fire up, like I mentioned. But other than that, I think that fireboard is hell of a lot worth it. So the next mod I will talk about is the Clotes vent mod. And while I at first didn't love this thing, I honestly never ever adjust it. I do use it though. If I have a fire, I can choke out the grill. I will say, it's something that probably I wouldn't recommend to the newbie. You don't need it. The grill vent's fine. You can see I have mine pretty much fully open. I just don't use it much, but if I do have a fire, I hammer this thing shut and I shut the slides, and I don't have to worry about a fire anymore because it just chokes it out completely. Other mods to speak of, I just added some pull tags. These are just fun aviation type things. I got these out of AirVenture this year, just from Aero LEDs, but they just remind me to pull the slides. If you know, you know. I also run hickory splits. That's not really a mod. We'll talk about that later in the cooking. I've done also a small grate mod in here. I just added some expanded stainless steel grate in there for like 20 bucks at Lowe's. Cut it up, and that helps to hold the ash up off the ground without smoldering. Gives you a little bit better burn when your stuff drops through. And I think that's about it, guys. Not a lot of mods. So obviously the big one being the control unit mod. And then the other one is just which I think is in the back. It's more about the cooking grates. I bought this grate off of Amazon that really helps me hold a big brisket on here, but that's really not a mod of the grill. That's just an add-on. So that's it for modifications. Let's jump into cooking and cook costs. All right, so let's talk about cooking on your Masterbuilt Gravity Series 800. First, we'll talk about costs of cook. When it comes to your fuel, and then we're going to talk about flavor and the versatility that this thing has. One, cost of charcoal, it depends, right? I use B&B oak, the competition oak. I get it at walmart.com. Usually does a sale quite often for like $9.99 a bag. They're 17-pound bags, and that 17-pound bag will fill the hopper up pretty much all the way, maybe 3/4 of the way, so you have a little bit left over. And that will last, I mean, if you're cooking on it every night, it'll last you probably the most of the whole week. If you're doing a big overnight cook, you're gonna probably end up using a bag and a half of charcoal. So you compare that to a pellet style grill. Pellets can wildly range, right? You can go to Walmart and get a big 30-pound bag of Pit Boss competition pellets for, I don't even know the price anymore, 12 to 17 bucks. Or you can go to Traeger and get their whatever branded stuff and pay a lot more, $24 a bag for a Meat Church hickory and oak bag that will last you maybe a brisket cook, maybe not. So that's a pretty similar factor. The one thing you do need to factor in is if you're going to end up using wood like I do, hickory or oak or apple or cherry, you have to factor that part in. So okay, I'm going to use apple wood for this cook. I'm going to use 5 chunks. The bag of apple wood's 15, 17 bucks. Or if you've got wood on your property, heck yeah, man, more power to you. That's great. And so to me, that's well worth the additional expenditure, but you do have to factor that in. Convenience-wise, starting this up takes a little bit more than a pellet grill. With the Traeger style systems, you hit start, right, and they fire up. They have a hot rod, they fire up, they start a fire, they keep going. With this, there's no ignition source. You do have to insert an ignition source, whether it's a tumbleweed or something else to catch on fire to light some charcoal up before the fan goes. Once you get it going though, easy peasy. And honestly, it takes like 10 minutes to start this thing up once you kind of know how to do it. Great neighbors firing up pressure washer. But you know, this thing will allow you to have a much more varied cooking experience when it comes to smoking. You know, I think the Masterbuilt goes to like 170 as far as degrees. And then I can get the fireboard down to 140, by the way, or even lower. I think I've done like 120 on it, which is crazy. And it manages it well. So I can do like warming. I can warm a brisket in this thing for 6 hours before guests come over. Or I can sear steaks at 700 degrees or 600 degrees or whatever. Or I can bake at 350. I've done apple pies. I've done pizza. I've done, you know, jalapeno poppers, pork butt, brisket, ribs, everything you can possibly think of. This is an outdoor oven, guys, just like a pellet grill, but the flavor is fantastic. Charcoal, wood, there's nothing like it. I'm sorry, there's nothing like it unless you had an offset grill. This is the closest, best second in my opinion. Yes, I know, you know, Lone Star, you guys have the awesome open auger system. You can get wood chips in with your pellets. I haven't tried that out yet. Maybe it's fantastic. I'm sure it is. I know you guys are killing it with that thing. But this to me is just a rock star for the money. So anyway, that's cooking on the Masterbuilt Gravity Series 800. All right, guys, so in summary, I want to make this pretty quick. I know this has been a long video. There are a few factors you should be thinking about when you are in the market for a Gravity Series. Masterbuilt makes a great product. The quality of the metals are on par with what's out there today. The switches, they tend to have an issue. Be careful with those, keep them clean, and you probably won't have to worry about replacing them. The grease management system, okay, it's not great. Keep the grill clean, take care of your stuff, and you won't have grease fires. And if you do, let it burn. Burn it off, it'll clean itself. You kind of have to be careful because you will burn the metal. But to me, maintenance of it is a factor, just like anything you own. This is just not something you can set it and forget it entirely. You have to take care of it. But to me, I've only torn it down like 2 times over the course of a year to really give it a good cleaning. How many times do you have to vacuum out your pellet grill? Pellet grill guys, comment down below. It's pretty much every other cook or maybe every 3 cooks. Get your shop back out and vacuum all the ash out. So to me, that's something I don't have to do with this. I do have to dump the ash bin, but that's about it. Cook quality, overall cook quality and cook flavor, cook costs, very much in line with anything else out there. Quality of the cook, far better. Like I said, you can go from low and slow to hot and fast, searing steaks, or using it as a warmer oven, making an apple pie, doing whatever. You can also find that your flavors are far better. Pellet smoke, to me, kind of lame. Not a lot of smoke flavor imparted, and when it does impart a flavor, you can tell it was cooked on a pellet smoker. Maybe I'm just terrible with it, but every time I eat someone who has pellet smoked food, I kind of know. This one, real wood, real charcoal, makes all the difference in the world. Modifications market. This thing has a huge mods market. If you're into that kind of thing, I know some people joke and say, why would you spend more money on your grill after you just bought it? It's a hobby, guys. It's fun. I spend all that kind of money on my model airplanes, buying stuff for them just because it's a lot of fun. You guys that are into motorcycles or airplanes, you guys get it. It's a hobby. Enjoy it. You're only here for a short amount of time. So those are some of the big ones. The biggest one for me, though, if I had to pick them and of any of those, is the general overarching difference in flavor. It is massive. Whether it's a steak sear or it's a low and slow, I know it's been cooked on this grill, and it's damn near close to an offset grill. And for that, I think it's worth all the money. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We really appreciate you guys subscribing and liking this video. It really helps me grow this channel as I want to do more and more. So thanks so much, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.